Can you guys hear me now? Sorry about the delay here. I apologize about that. Headset issue, technical difficulties. So I'll actually just go ahead and run from the top there. It's good now. It seems like we got a little bit more people in here, so I apologize. So rolling from the top, and I just started rolling. What we're going to be doing today is a overview of the ProjectHQ suite with a focus on the QuickBooks integration with QuickBooks Desktop. So the integration tool has been out and it's more recently been released, but ProjectHQ as a whole has been out in the public for 2 years. So we have a lot of clients using it. Again, the QuickBooks integration is a little bit new. We do have some people using it. And it has been in development for about 5 years before that. So ProjectHQ this isn't a brand new product. They are releasing a lot more details. Like between now and the end of the year, I think they have about 6 or 7 additional items that are going to be added into the system for use with the QuickBooks integration, which is really good. So you guys getting in early when it's just being released, only more and more things are going to be added to it. So that's great. Here on our webpage, we can see that we are actually on the home screen. This is where we can see a company-wide view. This is where we'll see all of our projects, all of our documents. So you can see here we're looking at overdue documents. I have a project list. I can see my upcoming documents, my recent documents, and I can take a look at all those, and I can drill down into any of these by just by clicking on them from the main menu. I can see my project schedule, and I can see any action items, and then these are also the same way toggle in between all of the items. And then we can see a weather log on the right-hand side here. When I go up to the top, if I wanted to click into a project, I can go over to projects, or I can click in and I can actually drag and drop right into a project. We'll get into the project view here in a little bit. But I'm just gonna go ahead and run down the taskbar over here on the left-hand side. So that, projects are gonna be housed in here. We also have our scheduling tool, which is the QuickBooks HQ, which links in with the project schedule here. If we scroll down, we have our contacts. So this is where we're going to see our employees, customers, vendors, subcontractors, things of that nature. Anybody that you guys are going to talk to, want to be able to email back and forth with or track all the correspondence. So ProjectHQ allows you guys, it's a fully web-based project manager software, get to all of your project managers or anybody looking for certain types of project reporting out of the accounting software, and allows them to view all of those items within ProjectHQ instead of being in QuickBooks, which for a lot of people will be great, or it'll stop you guys from having to send out certain reports manually to your project managers directly out of the system. So if I go ahead and go to the contacts and I look at all my contacts, I can drill into the contacts just by opening them up, and it'll give me details on the contact as well. These contacts can be pushed from QuickBooks, so I can create a vendor, a customer, an employee in QuickBooks and push it forward into Foundation or into ProjectHQ and vice versa. So that's our contact list. We can import contacts, so initially you don't have to create all these manually. They can be pushed over, or you can create them manually in ProjectHQ and then push those into QuickBooks. It's your choice in that manner, obviously. If I click down, we can see reports. You'll see that we have a bunch of different reports in the system currently, and we can customize all of these reports. It looked like I was having a little bit of connection issue, and I'm not sure if it's still happening with the daily log report, but all of these reports can be customized within the settings. So if I go in here to settings, you'll actually see all of the items can be adjusted. So if I click on change management and go to change orders, I can actually change the different entry points and say which ones are required or not required, or I can add statuses and turn them on and off as needed. I can actually come in here and I can add values to the change reason. So everything is customizable here. Some people go really crazy and set up a lot of different things, and some people keep it really simple. It's completely up to you. This is fully customized to each company's needs, obviously. But you can actually go into the field and you can change the fields, and then you can actually build out custom templates as well. So you'll see that we have a handful of built in reports down in the system that you guys can preview and run, and it'll actually show you a preview right here, and you guys can customize the ones that are in the system, along with also being able to create ones from scratch and import to fit your guys' needs. And then you can change like standard languages and things of that nature. So settings are fully customizable reports fields on the system. We can create user-defined reports, user-defined documents. So we have our RFC, our RFIs and our submittals. We can also create user-defined documents as well to track blueprints, contracts, punch lists, drawings, and things of that nature. So those are just some of the examples of ones that are in the system as well. In terms of user security, we also have user security in here, so you guys can create users that will actually work in the Project HQ system, and they will be able to, so you can see I only have one here, but you can create users and you can actually create permission groups. And I can have admins, and I can come in here and I can create a permission group for my project managers, and I can limit access that way just as easily as I can have someone with full access. So depending on what you guys need, you guys will be able to adjust this accordingly. So settings, again, completely customizable. User groups, permissions, customizable as well. Now, working our way back up, if I go back into the home screen, let's go ahead and click into our QuickBooks reporting. So this is something super unique to the QuickBooks Project HQ link, but we actually have our QuickBooks reporting here. So this is a total company overview. So you'll actually see a breakdown of all of the different jobs from that are linked with QuickBooks and Project HQ. It'll show you a contract versus revenue, an estimate versus actual, an estimate versus actual profit as well. And then it's going to show you your job breakdown as well. So it'll show it on a job by job basis down at the bottom. So this is your QuickBooks reporting. This reporting can be done on a company basis or a project basis. So if I actually switch back out and go and click onto a job, so let's just go ahead and pull this job up as an example. I can run that same reporting on the job itself. The reporting obviously will show a little bit different because it's going to show some more details on the job. I have all my same contract billings, my estimate costs versus costs and things of that nature, and I'll show all of that reporting here along with a cost code breakdown at the very bottom. So this is actually going to show you a budget breakdown or estimate breakdown, estimate cost versus actual, variance, revenue versus actual, and estimated profit there for the jobs that are in the system. So right now we're just in our project dashboard, where we can actually see all of the different items that have to do with this job. So initially you'll see a daily log. If I click on my team view here, I can actually see the project schedule if you guys had did any scheduling with it. And if you guys have had any daily log entries, they would show up. So if I click back here a handful of days, you'll actually see, I think I have some entries here. You'll actually notice if there are entries on that day, they will pop directly up and you can click down into them and see them. You'll have your project schedule. You'll have a mailbox. So the mailbox is, integrated directly into the system. Some people will choose to email from Project HQ, which would be not necessarily from personal email, but it would be like my Project HQ at, with your name, emailing out to, whoever you need to send something to, or you can email through the mail app as well. So you can hook up a mail app and then it would kind of route you through that method. And most people usually end up going that route. In terms of overdue documents, again, you have that same toggle option where you can see recent versus overdue and such down here, again, with the action items and weather logs. So a very similar view. And the next thing that we can see, if you do have any kind of discrepancies, it will show you this, and this will refresh. And this is kind of a good time I like to bring up the actual integration tool and how it works. So I'm going to go ahead and drag over just a sample QuickBooks company that we have. So if we have a company, if we go in, I'm just going to show you one link. So if I open up my customer center, and I will see that we have all of those test jobs that we had in the system, but I went ahead and put this webinar test job in there as well. I'm going to drag over as well the actual QuickBooks web connector. So if I go to File, App Management, and Update Web Services, that will pop up for me right here. And this is what actually does the integration. This is what pulls it. This can be done automatically. So you'll actually see that there is an auto run to where it'll run it every 30 minutes. So it's not just you put something in one side and it automatically links it over, but you can set that to be as quick as you want. Some people do 30 minutes, some people do an hour. I've seen people go down to like 15 or 10 minutes. So it updates more continuously. And you'll be able to see that if I just go ahead and hit update selected, it will push back and forth whatever information needs to be pushed back and forth. So if there's anything from ProjectHQ that needs to push to QuickBooks, if there's anything from QuickBooks that needs to push to ProjectHQ, it will do that. And then this is not so for sake of timing in terms of running the the link. I just did that manually, but most people never really have to open this. But that is the web connector that runs it. You'll see that I have my customer there, and then if I come back into settings and I go to integrations, I should now have a job here that I'm able to open up and link into ProjectHQ. So there's my webinar test job. I can link it. I already have that test job linked in ProjectHQ, but if I didn't, it would create it for me. And I can link the two together. And now it would be a part of my linked jobs. It would show up in my project view. So if I go back to projects, I will now see webinar test job. Now there's nothing in here, so there's no daily logs or settings or anything like that. So if I click on the reports, there's obviously going to be nothing there because it was just linked. I'm going to go ahead and jump back to this little foundation test job here and go ahead and go to overview and just work our way down this task list here. So the first thing that you can do is you can jump into the details. So this is just the details of the job. It'll show you the general information, address, if there's any specific scheduling information or any special notes that were listed on here, they would show. If I click down into resources, this is where I can actually go into the scheduling piece. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the scheduler. And this is where we can actually build out schedules in the system and see those schedules. So I can show this scheduler on a weekly view, a monthly view, or a quarter view. I'm just going to bounce this out to a quarter so that we can see some of this information. And you can see for that test job up at the top, I added some tasks into the system that we'll be able to go ahead and see. So this is where you guys can schedule out. If I open one of these up, you can actually schedule them out for start times. You can, have someone create, someone created or schedule it. What percentage complete it would be in terms of the entire, job. If this is going to be 10% or 20%, you can actually put in percentage completes. We can create categories and tasks for reporting purposes. We can color coordinate these and put icons on them for, viewing purposes. I can put in location, so I can use the project address, or I can manually put in a different address if it is something different. I can go into my resources and I can actually add the employees from the list, and I can add them and push them onto that schedule so that you can schedule out those employees as needed. If employees are scheduled on 2 tasks at once, as you can see these ones are, then it will show you an error message saying, hey, Ethan is supposed to be on another job at that same exact time. Is that correct? And you'll be able to kind of adjust accordingly. You can actually add, contacts. You can actually link up a crew, so you can actually, build a crew of employees and put the whole crew on there. You guys can add equipment, and you can actually also put in materials as well. Lists are pretty small there, but those can be built out to be customized to your guys' needs. And then basically that task will drop there. You also can run this view of these projects by contact, employee, equipment, and switch out the different views. If I scroll across, like I said, you can see the different items. You can add, when you go to add a task, you can do a detailed task or you can do a quick task. So you can just add a very simple, instead of doing all the resources, you can just throw the tasks on there so you can see your tasks built out very easily. And then you can also do unscheduled tasks. So if you have anything that is unscheduled, you can build them out over here and then you can basically drag and drop them. Now I scheduled this task specifically for this job, so you'll see that it's not going to let me put it on any of the other jobs, but it will let me put that into the schedule wherever is needed. So you can build out a list of tasks, and you might not know 2 months in advance what task you'll be on. It might be kind of a work in progress, so then you can kind of schedule out have your tasks over there and schedule them when they're a little bit more current, when you kind of know what the timing is going to look like. I'm going to jump out of our scheduler there and go back into our project view and work down. So those were the resources. And I'm going to go into the work management. So this is where we're kind of getting into the meat of project tracking, where we're going to be tracking, daily logs, documents, punch lists, and things of that nature. So we have all those items. We can create action items for people in the system and see those. We can give them priorities. We can categorize them and what the actual actions are, and attach those to people, and we can assign tasks to other people that are within ProjectHQ and such, and we can create action items up at the very top. And then we can run down that list. We can link documents on here, remarks, we can build custom fields, and we can actually email directly into the system. And that will always be available in ProjectHQ to see, and then you guys will be able to save or send directly out of the system. Same thing with daily logs. If I go down into the daily logs, I can do, delay, equipment, labor logs, man hours, however you guys would like to use these. Every company is slightly different. So you can actually see the different items as you go down. The weather log, you'll actually see that there are some entries in here. You can set the weather logs to be manual, or you can have them be automatic and have them pooled based on the job location, and it'll log the weather for you. And you guys can track all of those items in the system. We go down into documents. This is where I can track, RFIs, submittals, or any of those user-defined documents that I showed you guys earlier in the settings, and see them here. And I can go ahead and open up one of these RFIs. And you can see that I can click into them and you can create them in the system. So even after the fact, I can come in and edit these and go into the system and track these documents and correspondence back and forth, and it's all available for you here. So you can look at any correspondence. You can, originate a question. You can say, hey, this is the impact that it's going to have, the cost impact. It's going to put us in a delay. You can even put in, additional solutions. So you can put in recommended solutions that you're going to send off with this, request for information, and kind of go through that route. And then again, you can save and send these directly through ProjectHQ, and it would keep track of those. So if they respond, it will automatically link their response into ProjectHQ so that you guys would see that within the mailbox. So if I went back into the project view in the overview, you'll actually would be able to see that linked into the mailbox here. Back down to the work management. Other than the documents, we can do punch list, checklist. As you guys need, we can create a punch list in the system. We can actually copy these punch lists from job to job. So you guys might have a very similar checklist or punch list at the beginning of each job that you guys want to put in here. And we can copy these checklists and punch lists into each one so that you guys know, okay, here are the items that we need to get checked off before we start or while we're doing something for any particular thing. Working our way down further, we have our cost management here. This is where we can, view budgets. We can go in and we can track committed cost. So if I click into committed cost, and I'll circle back into the change management last, I can track my purchase orders and my subcontracts into the system, and I can see those items and I can pull those up. So I can create purchase orders into the system, and I can push those out and I can email them in the system and run through the different items that were ordered. I can attach documents into these as well, and you'll see that you can actually attach anything into the system. Currently it's through OneDrive or Dropbox, but we will be rolling out an internal document tracker where you guys don't have to be logged into OneDrive if you don't want to see those items and track those purchase orders. So if I just go ahead and go back, and you can track these things as these purchase orders as they are just estimates. They're not completed. They are completed. They're approved. And you can track those different items, and you can see which ones of those are closed. And you can create a new purchase order. You can actually create a change order off of a purchase order. Same thing with the subcontract. And then if you go over into change management, this is where we actually get into tracking our requests for changes and our change orders. So what we can do is we can actually come in here and we can go to create an RFC, and we can create an RFC in the system and give it a request for change number, a title. We can create the status as approved or pending. We can say it's an in-scope change or an out-of-scope change. The change reason, and remember in the settings, these are those values that you can change within the settings and say, hey, we want X, Y, and Z in here, and kind of go from there. And then we can put in the dates as well. Down at the very bottom, we can say it's sent from, and you guys can choose who to send it to. Currently, I'm the only one with an active email in this test environment. You can create the scope of work. If there's any custom fields that you guys have added into the system, it would be there. And then if there was any attachments that you guys had to put into the system, you guys can attach those on the RFC as well. And then you guys can come in and track those as pending, and you guys can convert those to approved, and then you can convert the request for change into change orders and link those into the system so that they would show on the estimates. So those are those bottom, and then down here at the very bottom, big last thing is this is just the correspondence, and this is where we will be able to see our files in our mailbox. So we can actually come into the mailbox view, and you can see as like an all email view on this project, but you can actually drill down and see certain emails for certain ones, and you can see if we send something out and they respond back, they can directly respond, and I'll link it in here so this keeps track of all of your correspondence in the system. Just kind of your centralized hub for not only document tracking, but also your job cost reports, not having to be, again, within the system to be able to view those. And then also the files. So again, like I said, this can connect into OneDrive, not signed in, was signed in, but it can also connect into Dropbox, and it can connect into, let's see if it'll sign me in real quick. It'll also connect into Dropbox, and then, like I said, we are planning on creating our own file, management for this, so that you guys do not have to see those things. So we're kind of getting to, just like I said, this is supposed to be light. It's not supposed to be too in depth. Just kind of showing you guys some of the functionality. What I will say is, currently, there are a lot of things in the background that are going to be released fairly soon. So some of the things that we do have upcoming is going to be the time card integration, where you guys can enter time cards, and it'll be additional tab over here in the home screen. So it would be projects, and then it would schedule, and then it would have like time card HQ, and the time cards would be directly integrated. And when you come over to top into QuickBooks, it would be immediately available within the time card area. So it would be a time card that you guys can put into ProjectHQ, and it would immediately push forward into the enter time area so that you guys can process payroll. Another one of the things that they are going to be releasing fairly soon, I have it within the next month, is going to be AIAs. So the AIAs are going to be entered into ProjectHQ, so you can go in there and you can put in your schedule of values. It'll create your standard, G702, 703 form, and it will, or you can do a customized form. So if you guys don't want to go with that standard AIA format, you guys can create your own AIA format. So you guys can create your schedule of values, put in your percentage complete, stored material, so on and so forth, retainage, and you can actually go ahead and push that forward into QuickBooks as an accounts receivable invoice. So you guys can actually manage the AIAs in ProjectHQ, and it'll push forward creating an invoice within QuickBooks. Okay, so that is, and there's some other things that we have on the horizons, purchase order tracking, working back and forth, and material tracking for inventory. So like I said, there are a lot of things on the horizon that are going to be released as we go through this, as we get the ProjectHQ integrator built out a little bit more. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys some time to generate any questions. You guys can throw them in the chat, and I will take a look at those. I know I got a couple in here already. In terms of the time cards, the time card entry is going to be, like I said, a separate tab where you guys can go in. Initially, it is going to be a single time card where a project manager can go in, put a single time card in for an employee or a crew, and they can push those time cards into ProjectHQ. And again, it will push over using that web connector into QuickBooks. And then eventually, the plan is to have it be more like our foundation mobile app. I don't know, some of you guys may use it that are here live for this webinar, where you can have the employees enter their time and it would push forward. But currently, the initial rollout will be a single time card that the project manager can enter. Like I said, 2 AIAs, yes, they will be generated out of ProjectHQ. I have that set to hopefully be released within the next month. And kind of go from there. Okay. Just give you guys some extra time, go through any questions. If anybody is interested in a more in-depth look at ProjectHQ, and we can go into specifics, we can set a separate demo up in the next couple of days or maybe even next week, so that we can look at this stuff in a little bit more specific manner to your guys' company, and then kind of go from there. Currently, there is no integration with QuickBooks Online. It is the integration with QuickBooks Desktop that is working currently. You can use company email, so that's that feature. So if you go into the email area of a project, it does give you the option to either email from like a ProjectHQ email, or it gives you the option to email from the mail app. So it will integrate, and let you guys use your company email instead of like an assigned ProjectHQ email. If you guys do want some more in-depth information, I'll reach out directly. So if anybody wants like a more in-depth detail, I will reach out to you after the session and set up a demo with you, and then kind of go from there. So anybody that kind of puts that they want like another follow-up soon, I can go and I'll email you directly and get a set up a session for that. So if you put your question in the chat, I'll see that, and I will note it down to reach out to you directly after the session and get with you. In terms of reporting, just to circle back into that, we can run the reports on a project view or a company view. So if I come in here to the QuickBooks report, right from the main menu, I can click on QuickBooks, and I'll actually be able to see a company-wide reporting. So this is going to show me my contract versus revenue, estimate versus actual, or estimated versus actual profit as well. And I can see my contract, and like some of these reports, you can switch them around, you can move them around and filter them in different manners as well. So this is where I can kind of see a whole company view. If I go into the projects, I can switch back over here. I can click into a project. I can also see a project specific view where it'll show me like a breakdown of the budget, the change orders, percentage complete, and all of my numbers as well. Okay. Just give it a little bit extra time here, let any other questions roll in. I'm noting anybody down that wants to set up a further one-on-one in the next couple of days, or maybe even next week, and kind of go from there. We do have some change order reporting in the system as well. Looks like there's some kind of questions. Yeah, so we do have those reports that are built into here where you can actually run, change order reports and different things of that nature in the system. So I can go change order log or change order detail report and actually run those into the system as well. And I can see that. Okay, so if anybody has any further questions, it looks like they're kind of slowing down here. You can shoot me an email after the session. The email is dkilpatrick@foundationsoft.com. A lot of you have probably already received an email from me at some point. So you can put that into the system. So dkilpatrick@foundationsoft.com. So like I said, if anybody has any further questions, some of you guys that raised your hands for further demos, I will reach out to you guys directly. But anybody else in the webinar that does have any questions, you can go ahead and shoot me an email at any point. That's dkilpatrick, KILPATRICK @foundationsoft.com. Hi guys, have a great rest of your day.